Hello guys, Dividend Enjoyer here, and today I'm going to be doing a stock analysis video of Dow Inc., ticker symbol Dow. In case you guys don't know what Dow is, they're a big chemical company that kind of produces a lot of the inputs for plastics. They have multiple different kind of sectors. Dow's products are not typically sold directly to the consumers, obviously, but they're actually the building blocks for countless everyday items. The company organizes its operations into these three main segments: packaging and specialty plastics, and this is the largest segment. It's a key growth driver. It produces various resins like polyethylene, which is essential for flexible food packaging, industrial packaging, and health and hygiene product. They also have industrial intermediates and infrastructure. This segment includes chemicals used to create durable goods and infrastructure. Key products are polyurethanes used in insulation, furniture, and mattresses, and industrial chemicals like chlorine and caustic soda. Performance materials and coatings. This segment produces advanced materials and specialty chemicals for more specific high-value applications, such as coatings for architectural paints, silicone materials, and solutions for automotive and electronic industries. I think that over the long term, this stock is probably going to eventually rebound. I think it's a question of asking yourself, when is this going to rebound? And is their dividend sustainable? Will the global supply of plastics need to increase, or the global demand for plastics increase within the next 3 to 5 years, or however long you want to hold this stock? Because if you believe that there will be a rebound and a greater demand for a lot of the plastics that Dow produces, then that would be something that you would want to buy. Now, over the last couple of years, Dow has actually had negative revenue, and that is because that there's an oversupply of a lot of the plastics that they produced. I believe that they were ramping up their production during COVID around that time, where everything was really increasing and the stock was doing very well. But now we're in a very negative period for the company, and you have to remember that this company is cyclical. So to find the value for this type of company, you probably need to average multiple years free cash flows or multiple years revenue history, average it out, and then see what you're probably going to get if you were a shareholder over that period of time. Really, when you're looking at Dow and when you're asking yourself, do I want to buy this company? Is this a good value play? You're asking yourself if you believe that the future of the plastics industry as a whole is going to have a higher demand or not. And one of the really key risks to this company is that if global GDP is decreasing, then that's a big negative for Dow. Dow wants as much consumption of plastic anything as possible so that they can continue producing those things. Really, they've overproduced everything, and when the global GDP is increasing, obviously there's a higher consumption and need for plastics. And if you believe that over time it will rebound and there will be a greater demand for plastic items again, I think that this is a good buy. I also believe that there is a lot of risk that we could have just more and more quarters of negativity until it starts to come back. And I think it's actually probably more likely that you're going to have to continue to ride this stock down. And for that reason, I wouldn't want to purchase it, just because I would want a stock that maybe costs a little bit more of a premium, but reliably continues to grow year over year. I think that this is a good value play where it sits now, and I think that the debt is very manageable. But I do think that there are significant risks to investing in Dow as a business, which I've kind of talked about already. So now I'm going to move on to the DCF portion of the video and kind of give you a good financial picture and kind of do my best to model Dow based on the information that I have. Here we can see that the current amount of debt that Dow has as a business is actually higher than the total market cap. And I also was able to calculate a weighted average cost of capital here. It looks a little funky because the income tax expense, I believe, was a positive and the actual income before tax was negative. So it's kind of throwing off my equation, but I believe I was able to fix it here. And 5.5 is a good weighted average cost of capital. Now, I do think that this amount of debt is manageable, but it is definitely concerning if you're an investor. I don't think that this is necessarily the highest quality company that you could be buying for your money. Or the least risky business venture that you could do in the world. And I don't really think that the growth necessarily justifies it, because you could get the same growth just by owning the S&P with not as much risk. You probably get better growth. And, if global GDP is increasing, then the top companies are going to be increasing. So that's just some food for thought, in my opinion. I'm kind of currently, I don't think this is cheap enough to really justify getting into it. I also want to add that I actually modeled this off of the average of the free cash flows, and just used my growth rate of negative 6.5, because there is negative 6% growth here on average since 2021. But I could actually throw in the 6.11 in there. And it does look like it's less negative in the trailing 12 month from 2024, but it could also just be that season did better. But I do think that that's interesting. I also want to add that the free cash flows are being impacted because there's a lot of repurchase of stock. There's a lot of repayment of debt. So the cash flows might not have actually been negative, but with paying back debt, obviously, and repurchasing stock, I do have to keep the cash flows what they are, because obviously there's less outstanding stock as a result of them buying it back. So it'd be kind of redundant for me to add that back when they subtracted it to get rid of the shares. So I really think that there could be some upside here if you think that, my model is correct. I think that there could be definitely, the stock could be oversold. But do I think that it's actually worth buying here? Maybe. I think this is an interesting stock, because I think that you want to buy this stock now when it's in the dirt and nobody likes it and nobody wants it, and it has a pretty decent dividend yield. I think it'd be sustainable for a while, but you might have to hold it even lower, right? I mean, if the momentum's going down, it probably will continue down. But it does look like there might be an opportunity here where it is truly undervalued for what it is. Now, I don't necessarily love that debt, but I see way higher amounts in utility companies. Duke Energy is the biggest one that comes to my mind when comparing its market cap to its actual debt. I think that this is a very important business, and I think that it's a business that has a lot of legs and will continue to do very well. But I think that the way that you play this business is you buy into it now when nobody wants it, if you believe that the plastic market will rebound eventually and that there will be a heightened demand for plastics worldwide, and Dow specifically, the types of plastics they manufacture. None of this is financial advice. I just want to make that abundantly clear. But the way that I would play this is I would try and buy a bunch of it now, maybe $1,000, maybe $500. Buy into Dow now. Wait until the plastic market recovers, and then sell it to someone else when the cyclicality changes. I think that this is one of those stocks that you have to buy when the perception is that it's behaving very poorly and that it'll never get better. And then I think that you want to turn around and sell it when the plastic market's doing very well and everyone's looking to jump in and people are just losing their minds and the valuation gets to something ridiculous. It doesn't make sense in your mind. I think that's how you have to play Dow. I think that's the best way to play Dow. I think over the long term, the stock probably will survive, but I'm also very hesitant on it. I think there's a good dividend here if you just care about dividend income. But I would be very hesitant about the core business because it is doing worse over time and it is negative, even from the trailing 12 month to the 2024 number. I mean, it's been negative from 2022 onward, or from 2023 onward, sorry. So maybe the revenue will go up another 10 billion, but I'm not very bullish on this stock. I think that the stock, I don't think it's the highest quality stock that you could own. I would much rather own something even more defensive, like a Waste Management. I think Public Storage is a better stock than this. Prologis just reported really good earnings. That's a stock that I own as well that I think is probably superior to Dow. I think Sherwin-Williams makes more sense than Dow. I think that they're a stronger business. But yeah, I don't really believe in Dow. I don't think that Dow is a good stock, even for people who want a high dividend. I think there's a lot of risk here. I think if you're willing to be a risk taker, I think that it is probably technically undervalued and that it is probably eventually going to rebound. Just the core business itself, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan on, because I think that there are better things that you could be buying that will be supported by global GDP growth. But if there is specifically high plastic demand at any point, I think that Dow is obviously going to be a better buy. So if you're someone who believes that they can accurately gauge and analyze the future trends of global plastic demand, I think that Dow would be a very good company for you to be able to trade, and you'd have an edge on that. So food for thought. Very specific company, very interesting company. If you guys enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. I really appreciate all of you guys for being here. Hope you have a great rest of your day.